While in Washington, the U.S. House has passed one of the GOP's signature bills. It is the so-called SAVE Act. It requires proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote for federal elections. From Georgia, all Republicans who voted supported it. All Democrats opposed it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Republican from Georgia's 14th district, is the only member of Georgia's delegation to not cast a vote.
So H.R. 8281 has passed the House, and it will move to the Senate. The most disturbing part about that, I think, is all of those nays from the Democrats. Well, you know what they're going to say. They're going to say voter suppression and that voter fraud, specifically from non-citizens voting in our elections, does not exist. That's what they're going to say. They're going to say that you're all too lazy and too stupid to get documents and register to vote as legal citizens. You're too lazy, too stupid to do it, and it's just very condescending. In the end, the Republicans are trying to fix some of the craziness that happened during COVID with the mail-in voting and what the Biden administration did over the last few years. Let's investigate a little bit about why the Democrats would be so hard-pressed to tell us and convince us that non-citizens voting in elections is not happening. It's not real. There's no evidence of it. Really, let's ask Doge how that's going.
Antonio, can you tell us what you Antonio is helping out with the Social Security. So just trying to review Social Security, where you may have heard that we found 20 million dead people marked as alive in the Social Security database. This is so crazy. And then you'll notice there's a strange trend here where how many Social Security numbers were issued. Do you want to?
Yeah. So let me tell you what happened here. We started at the top of the system.
You want to talk about a lot of maybe?
We started at the top of the system, mapping the whole system of Social Security to understand where all the fraud was. And there's a lot of great people there that showed us really a lot of waste. And so that came up with a big list of stuff that we're working on. You've heard some of that already. But this is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just this literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. Yeah, this country's been great to us. My brother and sister all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is not political. This is about America and the future of America.
So the Democrats claim that it's a Republican talking point or a Republican conspiracy theory that the Democrats, and specifically Joe Biden, were flooding the country with illegals and then transporting them directly to swing states to affect elections in the 2024 election, and then every election from there, switching those swing states to either purple or to a blue state forever. Obviously, if they create a welfare state and invite illegals from all over the world to come and get free stuff, and then they take the benefits and turn them to maximum benefit for these illegals, they're going to vote for the people that gave them all the free stuff and let them into the country. That's just obvious. That's just common sense. So the first step to getting these people legal and just sliding them through the radar would be to get them Social Security numbers and allow them to start to collect legal documents like driver's licenses and things like that. So the SAVE Act is basically trying to put a stop to those loopholes to let people register to vote without truly proving that they're a United States citizen. So know that firstly, and let Gracias and Musk talk a little bit more about this. You like I said, they say it's a conspiracy theory that that's what Biden was doing. But you tell me what you think he was doing. Why did you open up the border, let all these people in, and then start taking them to sanctuary cities, and which happen to be in swing states and other swing states around the country, and then let them immediately start to get documents, which in turn allows them to register to vote in the elections? I don't know. Let's see.
Is when you come in the country, if you're an illegal, there's a couple ways to come in. You come in through a port of entry, and you can tell them you're afraid, and they'll give you an asylum case. You'll get an interview, then you get in. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to just go to the border. Literally, this happened. I talked to Border Patrol myself. Elon was there too. I went to Laredo, and I went to Bronzeville. Elon went to Eagle Pass. You walk up to a Border Patrol officer, and you tell them you want to come in. They have a couple of choices. They could charge you with a misdemeanor or a felony under 1325, or they can make it an administrative offense, like a parking ticket, basically. They were told to do that, make it an administrative offense under the last administration. And then you go walk across the border. They do what's called a release you on recognizance, and they give you an NTA, a notice to appear, which to appear to judge. The wait times on judges are like average 6 years. Look at Grok, you'll see it on immigration judges. There's only 700 of them. This is 5.5 million people, okay? So what happens then? Once you're in the country and you got asylum through one of these pathways, and we map the whole thing out, you can apply for a work document. You file a 765, it's the work form. You get this form called the 766, that's the authorization, and then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number. No interview, no ID.
This is worth just reiterating. It's not people sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. He wasn't asleep.
No.
They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people and make it a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there would be no escape.
Now, it's one thing to say out loud, Joe Biden and the Democrats just really care about humanity. And really, they just said, open up the border to let all these poor people in. They're just poor. They just want a better life. They want a piece of the American pie. Just let them in. That's all we're doing is just letting people in. If that was the case, that would be one thing. But really, that's not what's happening. Just like he said, Biden's administration wasn't asleep at the switch. No, they created systems. They decided, open the border, flood it, all the ICE agents write a notice to appear on everything, give everyone citations, and release them into the country. And then all they need to do is do document A that we just created, document B that we just created, and that launches them a Social Security number and gets them into the system. And then it releases all the welfare benefits to them at maximum benefits for them. That's what they did. It wasn't like they just were being nice and letting people into the country. Now, you have to believe that Doge and Elon Musk are lying, and all the people that work at Social Security are lying and making all this stuff up and making all these stats up and pulling them out of thin air to think that I'm crazy for believing my conspiracy that the Democrats were absolutely systematically doing this and dumping illegals all over the country to eventually, at some point, vote in our elections and destroy the integrity of our elections. I'm just trying to say that the dots that I have to connect to easily say that this was systematically done on purpose versus the dots that you have to ignore connecting to say it's not happening is just, they're not comparable. And you might be thinking, well, this is just them receiving Social Security numbers. Are they receiving benefits? Are they really registering to vote and actually voting, not just registering, but actually voting in the election? And yeah, I just want to remind you also that this is just the 5.5 million sample that they have from 2021 to 2025 of how many non-citizens got new Social Security numbers in those particular years. We're just looking at this sample for this stuff here.
Look, if I hadn't seen this myself, I'm not sure I'd have believed it. I went through it myself and mapped it, and Elon is right. This is true. The defaults in the system from Social Security to all of the benefit programs have been set to max inclusion, max pay for these people, and minimum collection. That's what's happening. We found 1.3 million of them already on Medicaid, as an example. We've gone through, on every benefit program we went through, we found groups from this particular group of people, this 5.5 million people, in those benefit programs. And then what was really, really disturbing us was why. We're asking ourselves why. Right. And so we actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records. And we found people here registered to vote in this population, yes.
And who did vote.
And we found some by sampling that actually did vote. And we have referred them to prosecution at the Homeland Security Investigation Service.
Yeah.
Already. That is already happening.
The first thing I want to say about how angry that makes me is all of those people being set to max benefits. Now, if you've ever been on welfare in America before, I'm not sure, every state's a little bit different, but I've had to apply for welfare over the years. I've had to collect unemployment a couple times over the last 25 years when I'm in between jobs or whatever, and I would try to apply to see if there's any benefits or make sure that, the kids still have health insurance, that kind of thing. So if you've ever done it, in my particular state, I mean, you have to tell them everything, man. I mean, you got to tell them what your rent costs, what your cell phone bills are, how much money you have in the bank, how many cars you have, how many resources you have. Does anyone buy groceries? I mean, obviously, a lot of people can just lie and say whatever they want, but you have to provide documentation for that stuff. They put you through the ringer, dude. Like, I've never received full food stamps before, ever. I've gotten food stamps a couple times in my life, and it is always whittled down to like $127 a month, never anywhere near that maximum. And these people just walked across the border, asked by the president to just come on in, just surge at the border, and then given social security numbers so they can go work and get jobs and do whatever, get on Medicaid, get free health insurance. They paid nothing into the system yet, and they're getting max benefits with no questions asked. You just heard them tell you. The Social Security employees told them these people that are not citizens are receiving max benefits with little. They're not asking anything back from them. It's just they exist. Here's max benefits. And as an American citizen who's been on welfare a couple times over the last 25 years, that is appalling to me. Anyone out there that's been on welfare, man, humble yourself. Admit it. If you've applied for it before, as a regular working class person, they whittle that shit down to as little as possible to try to not pay as much as they possibly can. But to these people who have never paid a dollar into the system, max benefits, no questions asked. It's sickening, dude. It makes you so mad. That's my first point. Second point is, how can the Democrats continue to say that these non-citizens aren't voting? How can they continue? They're just saying that Elon and the Social Security office are lying and this stuff isn't real. It's not really happening. I really don't understand how they can openly just say, yeah, this isn't happening. The non-citizens aren't voting. The Republicans are lying. This SAVE Act is actually to suppress the vote of regular Americans. That's what it is. It's not to stop these systems that they created since COVID. This is disgusting. Basically, if it was up to the Democrats, there would be no voter registration at all. Anyone that has a cell phone and can text to hashtag vote can put their federal vote in for president, and we would just accept votes from all over the world. I mean, that's if it was up to the Democrats, that's how our federal elections would go. Is no registration, no rules. If you can get to a cell phone and text your vote in, we'll have a 30-day election. That's really what they want, and then they'll claim, well, that's because we are for the voters. We want the voter. I mean, dude, how dumb are you? Like, honestly, if you are making these points for the Democrats and thinking that they're on the right side of this, I really wonder what the hell you're thinking most of the time. I really, it's just like, it's a little bit confusing to me. I'm starting to rant a little bit, but ultimately, they will say, well, how do you even know that all these illegals will vote for Democrats forever? Dude, I just told you. Max inclusion, max benefits, no questions asked. Why would they ever vote those systems away? They're clearly going to vote for the idiots that made that stuff in place. Ever since COVID and they started the mail in ballot stuff, that's what the Democrats wanted. As soon as they got a sniff of mail in voting, they went, oh, that's what it should be. It should be mail in all the time. And then now Democrats are defending the Democrats that voted against this SAVE Act to say they're fighting against voter suppression. The Republicans want us to like show up and have to vote in person and on a single day, and it's just not fair. Getting documents is hard, and we're stupid. That's literally their argument. I just don't get it.
It's pretty wild. I mean, you can see. Because there's still actually a lot of people out there, especially in the sort of center third of the country, that somehow think this is made up by the right, or it's like some fiction. It's not that it's somehow not true, but it is absolutely true. And you can see that if you look at things like the state of New York, which tried to make it legal for illegal immigrants to vote in the state of New York. That was only shot down by the New York Supreme Court a few weeks ago. And California has made it health care available to all illegals in the state. And they initially claimed that it would only cost $3 billion. It's now $9 billion and climbing. So it's really, if you create a massive financial incentive for people to come to the United States illegally, then that's what they will do. It's a very sort of, it'd be stranger, it'd be odd if that didn't happen. So the thing that actually has the Democrats losing their mind by far, the real reason for these attacks and sort of the burning of the cars and everything is that we're going to turn off the payments to illegals.
Yeah.
You know, you might think to yourself, will the illegals vote in the elections? You know, is it even on their radar? They come from another country where there may not even be voting. There may not even be elections. Who knows? You know, and that's the key. The key is they don't even have to vote. The Democrats now, YouTube doesn't like us talking about them meeting in elections. They don't like, you know, talking about election fraud and stuff like that. The Democrats, what I always say, instead of saying they straight up cheat, they schmeat at elections. I hope you can understand me. That they just need you to be on that registration voter roll is all they need. Their activists and operatives will go into old people homes. They will ballot harvest. They will vote, dude. Allegedly, they will straight up vote for on behalf of that illegal. If they can get that illegal that doesn't even speak English, maximum benefits. They get a debit card where they can just go to Walmart and get whatever they want at Walmart, and you know, they have no complaints. They don't even know when the election's happening. Meanwhile, Democrat operatives are casting votes for them. Now, I got to say, allegedly that could happen, but let's not pretend, let's not be naive. The Democrats, I give them credit. They have a very strong ground game. That's what I call their schmeating in elections, is their ground game, ballot harvesting, old people homes, these activists, these rabid activists going out, throwing away Trump ballots, and keeping all the Democrat ones. You know, there's you can think whatever you want. That's where I get a little bit into the dark side of the conspiracy side of it, is they don't, yeah, the illegals could vote and they're trying to make it legal for them to vote and they're giving them all these benefits, but technically, guys, they don't need them to vote if they're able to implement their mail-in voting, their remote voting, no excuse absentee ballots, stuff like that. If they're able to legalize that stuff, they don't need it. They don't need them to vote. They'll vote on their behalf. Now, and that's the key, guys. We have got to shut down this. The voter integrity has got to increase. Ever since COVID, my feeling on the integrity of our elections is terrible. And the SAVE Act is the first step in trying to bring it back. And I really feel like we need one day, same day, in-person voting with ID, signatures verified, and all that. That has to happen. If you argue for anything other than that, I think you're trying to cheat, and I think you're full of shit. And that's just the truth. And you can save me but we want every American's voice to be heard. You know, not really, just being honest with you. If you're too retarded to register to vote properly, if you're too retarded to get your documents with years in advance, knowing when an election is coming, I don't feel like I need to hear your voice heard in an election. I feel like you're too retarded, and I don't care that if you're too stupid to get your documents together and register to vote. Oh well, I guess you're not voting. I don't understand this Democrat virtue signaling of, well, we just want every voice heard. Well, maybe every voice doesn't need to be heard. You ever think of that?
And you know, if you look at that thing with the Roosevelt Hotel and, like, you know, the luxury hotels in New York, where the Federal Emergency Management Agency funds were being used to house illegals in luxury hotels in New York that the average American can't afford. And they were giving a welcome package and $10,000 debit cards and everything else. Like, it's super real. I mean, it's like I think it's the biggest voter fraud thing in history by far. And moreover, if left unchecked, it would have succeeded. As Antonio mentioned, the time frame for going from asylum to citizen is roughly 5 years.
Yep.
And so all of the people that came in on that chart that you saw, if the machine behind the Kamala puppet had won, then they change out the puppet, but it's the same machine.
Forever impatient
then
for change.
They would have actually legalized all those people, and there would be no swing states.
And they added more. Remember, it was doubling every year.
Yes.
It went from 1 million to 2 million.
It was going ballistic.
It was going ballistic. And it is just, these people are just entering the benefit programs now, by the way.
Right.
We're seeing the ramp happen too. And these are just the ones that are in the system. This doesn't count the other, 7.5, 8 million that ICE thinks are out there.
Yeah.
We don't know if they have numbers. The number is totally uncontrolled. The voter ID requirement in this state is super important because of this.
Yes.
Because the Social Security number, it's not supposed to be a federal ID number, but it basically is. That's how you access all the benefits. This is why we need voter ID, because this thing is not secure. You could walk into a Social Security office today as an adult in America, and get a Social Security number enumerated with simply answering 6 or 7 simple questions and showing some forms of ID that are not federal ID.
Well, you can just actually make it up. You can show basically like a fake utility bill, or
you can show a medical bill and a school ID.
Yeah, yes. Medical bill and a school ID, and you can get a Social Security number.
Yes.
And then from there you get on the voter rolls, and then
yes.
Basically Dem operatives will farm the vote.
Yes.
So the problem with this obviously is that if you turn the swing states blue, then there are no swing states, and then we're in a permanent one-party system. And as soon as they win that, they'll have the House, the Senate, the presidency. They'll pack the Supreme Court. Then they'll double down on the illegals, just like California. So we've already seen this happen in California. California is supermajority Dem. So, but at least California is held back by the fact that people can move out of state. Once you can no longer leave America, it'll be far worse than California. So the gravity of the situation is severe.
Look, guys, I'll put the SAVE Act, I'll put the act in the description. There'll be a link. It'll probably go to a PDF or something, but maybe not. Maybe it'll go straight to the Congress website that shows all the acts and bills and everything. But yeah, that'll be in the description. Check it out for yourself, guys. All this bill does is make you prove citizenship to register to vote. To get a voter registration, you have to prove you're a citizen. That's all. That's really all it is. But go look at it yourself and see if there's some bizarro rules in there that are going to disenfranchise all the people. Elon Musk goes on to say, the same people that are about to tell you that voter ID is racist and wrong and disenfranchises everyone wanted to force and mandate vaccination IDs for everyone, or you can't leave your house, you can't go in the store unless you have your vaccine card and show it at the door. Those are the people that are telling you that the Republicans trying to shut down this loophole of illegals voting and trying to bring back integrity to our elections is actually ruining the elections. And it's actually, let's take a trip to Bizarro World, and let's go listen to a couple Democrats who just look, everything that you just watched, did that make sense to you? Was that common sense? Wait, let's go to Bizarro World.
Paige, we have been talking for months and months about this bill, the SAVE Act, which is a Republican voter suppression bill. It is aimed at disenfranchising all manner of people, young voters, transient voters, married women. We'll get into that in a minute. And all eyes have been on the Republicans in Congress to see whether they try to advance this bill, even in light of all of the unpopular measures they have now been stuck carrying for Donald Trump. There was some thought maybe because Donald Trump put forward his own anti-voting executive order, that was to take the heat off of House Republicans from having to carry this bill forward. But oh no. Earlier today, they lined up in a party unified bloc and passed the SAVE Act out of the House of Representatives. Now it will go on to the Senate, where I suspect it will die. But it is a telling sign of the age in which we live that House Republicans, in the middle of a financial crisis, when Donald Trump is ruining our alliances around the world, when Elon Musk and Doge are trashing our federal government, when prices are rising. The thing that the House Republicans spent time on is to try to disenfranchise millions of voters.
You're retarded.
Look, I don't know what this channel is. I think they have a couple 100,000 subscribers. They post a lot of political content with this guy. Link will be in the description for him. But brothers and sisters, what in the hell is he talking about? What is he talking about? The ruining our allies all around. What's he talking about? The tariffs? There's over 75 world leaders coming to negotiate the tariffs. How's that ruining our relationship with our allies all over? These people are so pathetic. Disenfranchising all manner of people, young people. What he really means is dumb people. Dumbass retards that don't know how to get ID and go to a federal building. Wait, listen to them act like you're too dumb to do anything in life. Like, seriously, listen to this. This shit is bonkers to me. This bizarro world is wild, bro. I'll watch it for you, but you gotta see a little bit of it. I'm sorry.
You can see, Paige, how this is just a trap. This is just a trap to disenfranchise people and to make it impossible for them to navigate this system and to just give up and say, you know what, I'm not gonna register to vote if I can't do it by mail, can't do it online, I have to show up in person. And then when I show up in person, they're going to question me about why my marriage certificate or my birth certificate looks a certain way or doesn't look a certain way, or whether the driver's license I have meets their conception of what proves citizenship. This is just a big voter suppression bill.
How about you go fuck yourself?
Did you hear that? Oh my God, guys. This is going to disenfranchise hundreds of millions of voters, guys. Look, man, if I gotta go to a physical location with my actual body and like present documents to a worker, and then they might ask me questions, dude, I might just walk away and just give up. You know what I mean? If I can't be on the toilet taking a dump, text messaging my registration to vote, and not present any documents or anything, and anyone can do it, then it's just dumb. I'm not doing it. And listen, now this girl, she's about to make my argument for me. She thinks she's about to tell you why this bill is bad. Now, keep in mind how insane this is. She is about to explain to you why the bill is bad. And then I want you to tell me what was bad about what she just said. Please, honest to God, listen to this. She is making an argument why the SAVE Act should not have passed. This is her argument. Ready?
Mark, we've talked about this bill in detail before, but to remind everyone, what the SAVE Act would do would require everyone to show in person documentary proof of a U.S. citizenship to register to vote for federal elections. Now, this would decimate online and mail-in voter registrations. It would prohibit states from counting mail-in ballots that arrive after Election Day, even if the ballots themselves are postmarked by Election Day. It would require states to do more frequent voter purges, and it would threaten election officials with jail time or civil lawsuits if they register someone to vote without the proper documents, even if that person is a citizen and an eligible voter.
I mean, could you imagine? She just thought she was cooking the SAVE Act. She was, and then it does this, and then another thing it does, what? A bunch of stuff that I want. You gave me 5 points that I 110% support and want them to do. And you're like, these are my 5 big points on why the SAVE Act is just a voter suppression bill. It's a trap. It makes it literally impossible, guys, to like be a human, like get documents and like listen to rules, go to a website and see, what do I need to do this? What documents do I need? Okay, let me go now, get those documents. Oh, they're asking questions. Let me get the answers. This was hard. Hey, I didn't bring all the proper document. I'm going to have to come back another day. Well, I'm just going to give up. Just forget it. Just forget the whole thing. What is wrong with What is wrong with you people? Honest to God, what is wrong with you guys? The last thing her last point on why it's bad was they said it's disenfranchising married women. I'm going to let Representative Stephanie Bice talk about the whole married women thing, saying married women aren't 69 million married women that changed their names won't be able to register to vote.
But let me be clear. This legislation does not prohibit married women from voting, and the absurd narrative of this has gotten out of control. When you change your name, Mr. Speaker, just as I have when I got married, you have to provide your birth certificate and a marriage certificate. This is already required when you update your ID, your Social Security records, and yes, your voter registration too. When your name is legally changed, it updates across government systems. Real ID, passport, other valid forms of ID mentioned in the SAVE Act are sufficient proof of citizenship. And no, your birth certificate doesn't have to match your current ID. Let me just add this. The claim is that it will disenfranchise married women and others who might have changed their name because the documentation might show two different names. But the SAVE Act itself addresses this point, Mr. Speaker, in the text. Page 14, line 9, directs the states to create a process for addressing this exact issue. I find myself asking, why are the Democrats refusing to take steps to safeguard our elections and protect the votes of every single American citizen? I strongly support the SAVE Act, and I look forward to voting for it, and I encourage my colleagues to do the same.
All right, guys. So you heard it there. Look, the links will be in the description for the SAVE Act, for any of the sourcing that I use, any videos that I use that I think you might want to go check out on your own, will be down in the description. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is just, the main thing that I wanted to kind of put together in this video. I'm trying to do better at having a more, coherent story for each video of trying to make a point in the end. I'm an amateur at this. I'm brand new at doing this, guys. I'm just figuring stuff out. I don't script anything. I just watch a video, want to talk about it. I run my mouth. That's the end of it. We talk about it in the comments. That's it. Share my sourcing. All my links will be in the description. SAVE Act will be there. All that stuff will be there, man. I need you guys to hit buttons, subscribe, like, do all that stuff, or nobody sees my videos. I'm brand new. I only got a couple hundred subscribers. I only been doing this a couple months, but I will learn. I will get better. This will get better. I'm learning, and I like to learn and do things in my own way and not just like go Google what's the best way to get views, what's the best way to get I don't care, man. I'm just here to run my mouth, talk to you guys, and find like-minded people and build a little community. So come along. Last thing I'm going to leave you with, these people, this is my main point, the overarching point of the video. You can see that they have systems in place to try and get illegals voting, or at least to get them on the rolls so they can vote on their behalf. I'm sorry, if you want to be naive and pretend that that's not what the goal is, whatever, dude, be naive. I really don't care. Allegedly, that's what they're doing. So they build a system. They start avenues and build systems for illegals to get these documents that they need to register to vote. Then at the same time, they're trying to pass legislation to allow illegals to vote, all while they're saying that illegals don't vote. It's crazy. It's a conservative conspiracy theory that illegals are voting while they're literally trying to pass legislation in certain states to allow illegals to vote in federal elections. And then they're like, well, that's not what our goal is. Oh, they're so crazy to say our goal is to have illegals voting and turn all the swing states blue when they're passing legislation in the states to try to make that happen. And then they're against a voting integrity bill, an election integrity bill that does the most common sense things you would think we were already doing, and they're just like, all this stuff is bad. Everyone's too retarded and lazy to get documents. It's hard. So conservatives don't want anyone to vote. That's what it is. Dude, be naive all you want. In the end, I'm going to leave you also with the Heritage Foundation's website to all the voter fraud charges, people that are convicted of voter fraud. But if you listen to Democrats, illegals don't vote. That's not their goal. That's not what they're doing, even though they're trying to pass legislation that gets shot down to allow the illegals to vote. They're giving illegals maximum benefits, allowing them on Medicaid, let them all into the country, gave them all debit cards and cell phones, gave them apps, gave them documents to allow themselves to get driver's licenses, do whatever they want, give all the same privileges as citizens with not paying into the system or doing anything for us except for just showing up on the border with some dirty feet and saying, let me in. Dude, be naive if you want. You guys tell me, man. I'll see you guys on the next one. But yeah, listen to the Louisiana liquor, man. He's going to say there's no such thing as election fraud, no such thing. Check the description for the link for all the fraud that's caught and convicted. See you guys soon.
Well, let's talk. It's a massively unnecessary idea. There has been study after study, and I mean a lot of studies and good studies, to say that the amount of fraud in American elections is almost undetectable. We've looked for that forever. So you ask yourself, if an elderly person doesn't have a driver's license, or a married person takes her husband's name, which my wife chose not to, but other people do, that's people's own business. Well, they can't produce a thing saying I'm Jane Smith, because the birth certificate is Jane Jones. So there's the other thing is not necessary. Why are we putting another bureaucratic layer to solve a problem that doesn't exist?
Yeah, guys, it doesn't exist. Definitely don't go to the Heritage Foundation and take a look at the election fraud map. These are convictions, guys. They're cases and they have convictions attached to them. If you notice, the cases seem to be really strong in the swing states. Imagine that. Wyoming and Utah, not too much in Nebraska, but Minnesota, Wisconsin, and these are individual cases. This could be one election official that is counting a couple hundred votes that they shouldn't have counted, and that's a charge for them. Or it's a case. So this could be hundreds of votes. It could be a couple dozen votes. It could be one vote. It can be someone just counting mail-in ballots that are illegal. So I encourage you to come. See, they have the fraud type, duplicate voting. They changed the stats, feature cases. That was as of February 4th, they'll have this stuff. So false registration, just what people are doing, okay? This is what people do. This is that ground game that I was talking about from the Democrats. Listen to that. Was charged by the state of Fulton County, Georgia, with 70 counts of felony fraudulent entries for filling out and letting others fill out fictitious names on voter registration applications while canvassing for the Coalition for the People's Agenda, a left-wing advocacy group. I'm telling you guys, you can be naive all you want. That's fine with me. I really don't care, but don't come at me and say this isn't a problem, dude. If you guys don't remember, man, listen. When Joe Biden lost all those bellwether counties and still won the election, and the election was not looking great for him on election night, then counting was paused. A bunch of weird stuff happened. 130,000 vote dumps in the middle of the night when there was no supervision whatsoever at all. 99% of the votes went to Joe Biden. Those election officials, they could have one case and it's, a couple hundred votes, couple thousand votes that they cheated on. In the end, if you remember, Joe Biden won after a couple days of counting, a couple days of looking at the votes, and a lot of those swing states, Joe Biden won by hundreds of votes, sometimes a couple thousand votes. I mean, it wasn't like Joe Biden won the swing states by, 500,000 votes, and there was no way that, they couldn't have cheated that much, right? No, dude, I'm telling you, go back and look at it. He won one state by a total of 11,000. I think he won Georgia by 11,000 votes or less. If you think one election official can't swing that 11,000 just to make sure he clips them in that one, dude, be naive be naive if you want. I don't care. I can't explain every single little fraudulent thing that they do. Obviously, they hide it very well, but to pretend, considering the people that cheat the most are basically just saying, yeah, don't worry about the cheating. Let's just forget about it, okay? And that one side continues to put themselves in a position to cheat. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. How dumb you want to be. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Go check out the sources. Look in the links in the description. Subscribe, like, do other things. Thank you.
Eleven, 5, 9 and 20 miles today, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war.